you have questions more generally about this, then you're more than welcome to ask in the chat. And you're also more than welcome to go to the website, as promised. There's a lot of information there for you. And then today's agenda. Change the slide. I think I have presenters rights. If I don't have presenters rights, can someone just change the slide for me? Well, while the slide is coming up, I will take us through the agenda briefly. We will start today first in Germany, where we will get to know about, thank you very much for the slide change. We will get to where we will hear about working with grave cases. And that is to say when there's no criminal investigation yet. And then finally, we will move to Cyprus, where we will hear about once there is a criminal justice procedure happening. We will learn about their experience in Cyprus, talking to judges and lawyers about the criminal justice process and building support for Barnahus there. So let's get straight into it. I want to welcome Alexander Ruth from World Childhood Foundation Germany. And given that Germany is a federal system, it's very impressive. I personally find that World Childhood Foundation Germany has managed to gather so much support for Barnahus in such a short time. So we're really keen to hear how you did this. The floor is now yours.
Well, I hope you can all hear me. Thank you very much, Shauna, for the introduction. I'm very happy to be a part of this today. And I would like to talk about establishing Barnahus in Germany, and I would like to focus on the structures, the challenges that we have faced and still face, and the strategy, how we are successfully implementing the concept in Germany. So a brief introduction into the World Childhood Foundation. So the World Childhood Foundation in Germany was founded in 1991. And what we do is we support projects that work in the field of sexualized violence against children. So we support projects that work in prevention, but also in intervention. Often it's both combined. And the World Childhood Foundation has joined the Promise Network in 2015. And we, at this time, had already heard about the Barnahus model because our foundation has very strong connections to Sweden, and in Sweden the Barnahus concept has been successfully implemented for a couple of years now. And it was also in 2015 when it became really clear for us as a foundation that there is a need to rethink or to reconsider current practices in child protection. Because what we realized is that there is a lack of interdisciplinary cooperation in child protection. And we thought that this is like really, really important. And so the Barnahus concept, we regarded and still regard as a wonderful solution to this problem. And so we held an expert meeting in 2016 in Leipzig, where the concept was introduced to professionals and practitioners. And it got a very, very positive response, and the response was that this is really needed, a stronger interdisciplinary cooperation. And so we as a foundation decided that we want to be the main force to implement this concept. And we decided to open the first Barnahus in the city of Leipzig, where this expert meeting took place. And but it was also clear from the beginning that we as a foundation, we cannot operate the Barnahus. So we looked for partners for local partners, and in Leipzig it was the University Hospital, the Children and Youth Clinic in particular, and we teamed up with them, and so it was only 2 years later, in September 2018, when we opened the first Barnahus in Leipzig, and the second one in 2019, so just a couple of weeks ago, in the city of Heidelberg. As I mentioned already, we as a foundation, we do not operate the Barnahus, but we cooperate with local partners. And this is also because we in Germany, we face certain challenges in implementing the concept. And I picked like the main ones. And the first one is that Germany has a federalist structure. So we have federal states that vary significantly in their structure. So number one, the political structure is different. Then you have city-states like Hamburg and Berlin that are very like densely populated, and then you have other states where the area spreads out like very far, and that also has a strong impact on the structures and the forms of cooperation in child protection. So in the cities, there is a strong you can find more cooperation in child protection because you have like very short ways, and it's easier to cooperate than in these larger states. You also have in some parts you have so-called child protection ambulances where especially the medical service already works in a very interdisciplinary way, but others don't have this. So the forms and structures are very different. And then another very an obstacle for us in Germany is data protection. Data protection is very highly valued in Germany, very, very much protected due to our history. And so this means that often stakeholders are very hesitant to share information, or they are not even allowed to share information. And so we really have to find like individual solutions there in every location where we want to establish a Barnahus. But this is like the good thing is that we have these local partners who are experienced in the system, who know their system, who know the network already, and this is really important, and we really rely on this. But this also means these individual solutions that we as a foundation have to make sure that there is an equal level of quality, because you have these differences in practice, and that means the 10 Barnahus standards that we apply are very, very important, and they are like for all the partners, they are the mandatory base to use. And I just want to quickly wanted to ask you, in your country, in your respective country, so what are the challenges and obstacles that you face? Are they like similar to what we have in Germany, like for example data protection, or do you have any other issues? So it would be great if you type in your answers in the chat. And so what is also really important for us is that we facilitate and strategically plan the long-term establishment of the concept. That's number one. You need to have the structures for the long-term establishment. You also need to have the financial support. It is a huge topic, and to do so, what we try is, as a foundation, we really focus on generating impact on different levels, on the political level, on the financial level, research and education and networking. And political level means that we have a lot of meetings with high-profile politicians. We really try to put the topic of sexualized violence against children and all the procedures that children face afterwards are on the agenda of politicians. And we hold talks. We, for example, present the concept to for example, the Children's Commission in the respective states, or to the justice ministers. So it's really like, we really try to support our cause on the political level. And then another very important thing is the financial support. We as a foundation give financial support. For example, we finance a coordination officer who for a year who has time to do like networking, to hold a round table, to work on a concept, to find the space for the Barnahus. But we also support like a 3-day workshop where all the stakeholders meet and where they find where they can work like really like on detail on solutions and different approaches, and where they talk about the obstacles that they have and how to overcome them. Also equipment, education. It's possible that the stakeholders, that they go to Barnahus in Stockholm and see how the Barnahus works there, so that they have get an idea of the concept and get a like real experience and can talk to the experts there. And research and education, the third level, is also really important. So, for example, this year we organized a lecture series on child-friendly justice at the University of Leipzig, where the law students were offered like this lecture series on different topics of child-friendly justice. So one was child-friendly interviews, for example. And we think this is like really important to successfully implement the concept, because it is so necessary that the professionals are aware of the challenges and how important it is to have this concept and to have these child-friendly places where all the stakeholders work under one roof, and that this is like a really necessary, and that it's also helping them in their respective disciplines. We also have cooperations with experts in the field of child protection. We hold expert meetings and so on. And then the last one is networking. So what we do is we facilitate national and international exchange. For example, like next year, we are planning to have an international meeting of different Barnahus from the European countries, but also we would like to invite other organizations who have a similar approach from outside the European Union, to share best practices and to share experiences. And what is also really important is that we facilitate the exchange and information sharing on a daily basis between the two Barnahus that we have now, and hopefully then also between the ones that are coming. So next year, Hamburg and Berlin are likely to be opened. We also have advanced cooperation with other cities. I already mentioned the networking event in Berlin in 2020. And one last point that is really important, I think, and really important for us, is that we want to do research with children and young people in context of Barnahus. So we really want to have their experiences. We want to hear their perspective, or we want to take into account their perspective on the concept and how they experience it, what they need within a Barnahus to feel safe, to feel secure. This is also like really important for us. Well, that's it. That was like a broad, quick overview. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And if you have any questions, type them in the box and we can answer them later. And I would give the floor back to Donna. Thank you.
Well, don't go anywhere just yet, because there was a question for you in the chat about your local partners. First of all, I just want to say this is very interesting to hear about the local partners and the important role that they play. I actually had a question I was on a panel in Brussels recently, and the question was, are local partners easier to work with? And I know what my answer will be next time. We'll include this information that I learned today. But the question in the chat was, by local partners, are they NGOs? What kind of partners?
Yeah, so local partners means, so mainly the organizations that are interested in establishing a Barnahus are at the moment really like the medical field. So university clinics, that's like in Heidelberg and in Leipzig as well. These are our local partners. Also in Hamburg and Berlin. And the reason is that child protection is very much focused on the medical sector in Germany. They play a huge role, and this is why most of our local partners are in the medical field, are the university clinics. But we are also open, for example, to work with other child protection organizations who want to implement the concept in their respective region. So yeah, but so far focus is really on the medical sector.
Great, thanks so much. And now we will move it onward. Thank you so much to our second speaker, which is Laura Klemali from Centre Dardaza in Latvia. You have been running a pilot of examining stray cases in your service, and we are eager to hear about how you undertook this pilot and what the results have been. So, go on.
And what is a great case of child sexual abuse? There is no criminal investigation yet, but there's a suspicion, maybe in behavior of a child, maybe there are some signs, maybe there's information around the child which shows that there might be an abuse, a sexual abuse, but the information is very unclear. And I'm sure if you work with these cases, you've been there and you know what I'm talking about. And there are no concrete facts. And one other sign is that the perpetrator is not identified yet. And we also use the term great case in the cases where abuse is identified, but among children, and this is becoming more and more of work of our on a daily basis, so that children who show harmful sexual behavior, and the children involved in the abuse case, like from both sides, like the abuser and the victim, are below the age of criminal responsibility, which in Latvia is age of 14. So far about the gray cases. And what is exploratory interview? It is a structured conversation, very much like interrogation in criminal proceedings, also using the strict protocol. We use NICHD protocol. The conversation is done by the psychologist. It's video recorded, observed by social worker, but no police is involved yet. And we use it in cases which are reported to social services. We as an NGO do not speak for the clients. The social service spares them twice. We have an agreement with them, and then in our organization, together with social service and custody court, we decide if the exploratory interview can be used in that case. What happens after the interview? There are two ways of the scenarios. The first fact, if the child discloses any fact about abuse, because one of the signs of the gray case is that the child hasn't told anybody. He or she is just showing some signs, but hasn't told anybody. If the child discloses facts during the interview, and the facts might be what happened, where it happened, or who did what, and maybe when it happened, the interview is slightly stopped, and the case is immediately reported to the police. Why the interview is stopped? Because we know if there will be a criminal investigation, the child will be interrogated for the criminal investigation purposes, and not to disturb the facts in the case, and mostly not to hurt the child in any way. We stop the interview, explain to the child that thank you, it was very, very important, but we need to talk about it one more time, and we report to the police. The other case, and these are the most cases we experience during the pilot, if the child doesn't disclose in this interview, because we are working with gray cases. Just signs, no concrete facts, maybe the child is very young, and then there are lots of obstacles. Then in these cases, we continue with the psychological assessment. And in Latvia, these are 5 or 6 consultations with a psychologist, using some methods, drawings, consultations, and then the psychologist came out with a written opinion about the situation. And also, of course, if needed, we provide counseling for child and their families in these cases. So, during the pilot since April and October 2019, we had, together with social service, 32 gray cases of sexual abuse, which we might call gray cases. The youngest child was 3.5 years old, and the oldest was 17. And most cases that you see were reported to social service from the school or kindergarten. So the teacher or the pedagogue, they observe the child, they see them sometimes even more times than parents, and they see these signs and this behavior of child. And so they report to the social service, and then together with social services, we take the case. And also, unfortunately, other parts of cases, there are parents in high conflict divorce, and I don't know how it is in your countries, but in our country, sometimes parents use reporting against another parent and also report sexual abuse. But still, we have to check if it is like that or not. And then, during the pilot period, you see from 32 cases, which we call gray cases, in 9 cases we use exploratory interview, and from these 9 cases we made 3 reports to the police, and 2 reports were sexual abuse, and in 1 case it was physical abuse. In 3 cases, we reported custody court. There were some family issues to solve. And in 13 cases out of these 32, we didn't use exploratory interview, but just made a psychological assessment, and there can be lots of issues, and that's why we always organize interdisciplinary meetings before, and we made the decision together with social service, custody courts, also consulting parents if possible. And in 3 cases, no intervention with the child was made, and as you see, in one case the child was too young, it was 3.5 years old, and in that case it was made a decision that child just could not tell anything, and in that period of age you can imagine it very much can be different. Some children can tell you something, and some are just making first steps in how they express themselves in words. Yes, in one case we refused to make an exploratory interview because too many psychological assessments were made with the child before. And as you know, if a child has told his story for many times, there is very, very short possibility that we can gain some worthy information about what really happened. So we decided on other forms of intervention. And to go quickly further, what were the main challenges? One of the challenges is that I think it would be the same in your country, that there is a mandatory reporting when you hear or when you identify child sexual abuse. But when you really report these grave cases to police, they often stuck there in this legal system. For example, there is no perpetrator from the criminal investigation unit. As I mentioned, the situation with if the child is under this age of criminal liability, and then if the information is not that the information is only suspicion. The child hasn't told. Actually, with the police, these rules and their tools, as they explain to us, it's really hard to go further with the case. Therefore, sometimes police, they feel relieved when they receive, for example, exploratory interview video, and they have a concrete child story, and they can start doing their job. And the other challenge is the identification of grave case in social services, and there are two parts of it. On one hand, sometimes the information is not enough, and social service refer to us when they don't know themselves the situation in family, the situation with the kids, and the other situations might be that they have enough information, but they just delay reporting somehow. And this is a challenge for them to decide in which cases to do what. And what are lessons learned so far is that exploratory interview, and I would highlight the interdisciplinary meeting and the system, how we made it based on Barnahus standards, that we do not do and make decisions in our rooms alone, but we come together, and also sometimes involving police even before criminal investigation, but in the role of consultant. That this is a great tool for professionals to address grave cases. And what are the next steps we're planning? We definitely will continue with exploratory interviews, and we are already known in our small country as an organization from which you can turn to if you have these issues, and if you don't know as a social worker what to do, even outside Riga, although the pilot was only in a capital city. And what we are now working hardly on is developing materials and methods for professionals who work with children who expose harmful sexual behaviors, because it is a very hot and needed issue right now. Thank you. I was trying to be 10 minutes long. Did I manage, Shauna?
I think you might have managed, in fact. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And also congratulations on the really important work that you've been doing. It's interesting to hear that the police are relieved when they get the videos, that they can start doing their work. Has that inspired any trust building, for example, between the professionals?
I think definitely, because at the first we piloted the Barnahus method for criminal investigations, and now we passed all the decision makings. We didn't pass, but the ministry took it from us, and now they are thinking of how to further develop, because as Alexander mentioned before, there are some challenges if you are an NGO and you are trying to develop something, because as we all know, and we can repeat and repeat it, Barnahus idea is interdisciplinary. You cannot be alone. You have to speak in one language with police officers and social workers, with medical sector. So I would say maybe if the state provides a service, it's the most relevant way. But we didn't sleep meanwhile. We looked for further what we can do and what are the gray areas. And we found the work with gray cases like the good next step. And actually, especially the work with gray cases, very much improved our good relationship with police.
That's excellent to hear. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to Cyprus now for our third and final speaker. I'm going to have it introduce Tanya Matia from Hope for Children in Cyprus. And I spoke to your colleague who's on the call today, actually Zoe, hello, who was really excited to tell me about your work with lawyers and judges. And at that time you hadn't had the final judicial workshop now, but now you have, and we're really eager to hear about the outcomes and what the discussion is in your country, especially since, there's so many hot topics in this field, from high conflict divorces to, a number of things, but engaging judges and convincing them that this is a good way of working is of high interest to a lot of people. So, the floor is now yours.
Hello. I think I can change the slide. Okay. So, unfortunately, the section dealing with children's rights in general, and we are assigned to run a children's house in Cyprus. But we ran it from September 2017, dealing only with sexual abuse cases of children. The funding is by the state and the social welfare, which also is responsible to run it with us somehow. It was challenging, of course, as Alexander said, and hoping that somehow the plan was to think about the many changes we had in the judicial system, all the legal procedures, and the General Forming Council. I'm really glad to say that we are in a point that we are doing a lot of progress with this judicial procedure, although we understand that we have a long way until we reach the goal. Here in Cyprus, still the children, they have to go to the court and testify and get also court exams. So it's really important, and I have to say that last month it was the first time that a child came here at the children's house to testify to the court. It was the first time in Cyprus after some amendments in the law that took place in July 2019. And it's amazing news. And I'm glad also to say that I think we're very lucky here in Cyprus that the operation of the children's house cannot be the problem through. So along with the operation, we had the chance to use the problem through in order to bring all the multidisciplinary teams together. So I think that commit to and the workshops that we have done, and the judicial workshops that I'm going to mention. And one, they help us a lot in specialization, but also in to understand the reasons of the multidisciplinary approach. I'm saying that we've done a lot of progress, but we still have a way to run, and I'm expecting to see more from everyone together. In terms of the judicial workshops that we have had, we've done two judicial workshops. The first one was in September 2018. Both of them within the country. You can see some pictures maybe on the slide as well. So this is the first judicial workshop for 37 participants. Before doing this workshop, we have been in contact with a judge that is really testing us in general, and that they suggested that a judge is the best person to give a training to judges. So, after some consultation with Sean and the media at that time, they referred us to Lana Peto, which was the judge that came to Croatia in order to make this first judicial workshop on the subject of child-centered justice. So 37 participants, it was a great achievement that we had 9 judges, mostly from the family court, but also from the district court. We had a lot of lawyers from the in general, and social welfare services also were included, and police officers. In terms of the multidisciplinary approach, in most of our workshops within the committee, we invite all the stakeholders. But the numbers are different in terms of the subject of the workshop. So, as with in every workshop, we do have some briefing introductions because some participants are different and not the same every time. So, first an introduction about what Hope for Children, a very small briefing that was coming together, and what Hope for Children is, because as you both mentioned before, Lara and Alexander, being an NGO and running a children's house, sometimes it's quite difficult when we start the operation. So we would like to introduce ourselves and say about what our things as an organization we run and other projects. Then there is also an introduction to what Tommy's is and why and the role of the Tommy's also, and then mostly the coordinator, which I am the coordinator here at the Children's House. I usually present how the Children's House works and what exactly do we do. Just to mention that not everyone knows, here in practice it's the concept of under one roof, all the services are provided. Forensic interview, medical examination, psychological evaluation, social support. So, after all this introduction to itself, then we come to the main presentation. Mrs. Lana Peto will join speak, which has a great experience in this kind of space. We talked before and we set an agenda together. She proposed some ideas about what she thinks it will be interesting, and she made a very interactive workshop. She started the presentation discussing the treatment of a child victim about pregnant. We already knew the concept of that because it was the partner within the film in the roundtable one. So it has a continuation for those that have been before also today. She talked about the special role for children that we have at the school. She showed us some videos and some pictures. She talked about with the audio video recording used by investigation and juvenile judges also. Always when she talked and she focused on the fact that the children also needed the assistance of social welfare experts, psychologists, or social pedagogues, something that we don't have here in practice. So she explained the role of the experts that is to test the judges on the way of asking a person to a child victim. Then the discussion moved to what could be done to improve the services to victims, and she mentioned at that time, it was before having our first child here in the children's house, she recommended that the children shouldn't go to the court. So it was mostly to make us, to give us a big question about what shall we do with the fact that here in Cyprus, kids are examined even for cross-examining, especially even for 3 days in some cases. So it was a very big change and we are really passionate about it. So then she used 4 different corrective methods where she divided groups with specific questions, and the General Commission of this discussion group said the children should be given to sharpen safe and not the court. Also, again, it was mixed, it was divided in mixed groups, like, in these workshops that was in 1 day, started around 8 o'clock in the morning and finished around 4, with a lunch break in the middle, where we had the chance also to talk about things while having our lunch, and more like a trading discussion about things. So, among others, it was mentioned by the participants that in general, when sexual abuse happens, other carers are also vulnerable. We can see some statistics here at the children's house that sexual abuse, most of the time, the referrals we get, again from police and social welfare, they combine other kinds of abuses most of the time, and violence, which has neglect, physical or psychological abuse. So we talked about that the child victim couldn't feel safe with every professional being able to say, and to get prepared to testify about what's happening after forensic interview and maybe later in the court. So we talked, that came from the General Attorney and the Meeting Commission, about the fact that they need to prepare the children. So if the child talks to the forensic interview, then the lawyers again ask them to talk about their stories, because the court hearings maybe happen 1 or 2 years later here. So we talked a lot about this subject. The discussion was focused on the needs of children and about protecting their privacy, their safety, and in general, all participants expressed their satisfaction regarding the workshop, and they were really excited that they got committed. And actually, the judges and the lawyer, it was a first time that I think it was the first connection of trust that we needed to be between us. That they can ask us also questions, and that they would feel that it's a kid fight because it's a different field, that it's a kid that they don't know something. So that was the first judicial workshop, and then the second judicial workshop took place in October last month, again with a great result. A total of 55 participants, even though it was for 40 participants. We had a lot of professionals on, police officers, judges, private practitioners, lawyers. That was an addition to the other one, because we understood that also private lawyers that they do the cross-examination need to be trained, especially on this subject that was children as vulnerable witnesses. We came to meet Julie Whitby, which judge that is based in the UK, that she comes here in Cyprus to the British basis to do some cases here in Cyprus. She's, you can see here some details. She's specialized in rape, sexual abuse, child cruelty, harassment. In general, she's a trainer in the UK. So when we met her as a psychologist, but also going to the course in the British basis, and we were impressed by her approach, which was very different from what we knew here. that she asked the lawyers to give entire the questions that the child would be examined. We were so surprised about this. Very good step. She said, we kept that we called her for a meeting. She came here at the children's house. She saw friends, and we discussed about the option of having her as claimant here for reading the promise too, along with another judge that we do closely cooperate, and a friend. So again, we followed the same thing as before, taking summons to action. And indeed, after recommendation from the judges, we had Zoe, that is getting right now, presenting the children's development and memory capacity. Because we thought that it's very linked to how the children can testify, especially getting titles that the hearings come after a lot of time. So, Zoe talked about the developmental stages of children and the mental processes and what affects the children's memory, which was very amount of time. Maybe?
Yeah, we'll have some time at the end to gather everyone and ask any remaining questions. So this is just a notice to anybody in the chat. If you have some other questions, please type them now. But maybe there's a good opportunity for you to share some conclusions, and then we can roll into the end.
Yes, of course. So the conclusion is that it was a great experience for everyone to hear, yes, that there are great ideas of ground rules hearing, and you can search more about it. But it's something that takes place in the UK. The role of the intermediaries, which are learners about the social pedagogues also, in a way that they introduce to the judge the image of the child before making the decision. So I think basically these two suggestions from the UK judge were very interesting and made all the judges to get involved. So that's it in general. And I can finish at least here. I think it's fine.
That's great. Thank you so much. I think this will be very interesting to many people to see how to arrange the kind of judicial workshop that you did and the outcomes that are possible. And you know, you're not the only one to say that judges listen to judges or judges trust judges. I've heard this from other judges myself. So it looks like you really engaged some supportive ones that have given you some good feedback. I think in all of the presentations today, there's been an overarching theme of trust building, and I think that's quite interesting. And it's really encouraging to hear that Promise 2 has helped you in your specialization and also your lines of argumentation. And I hope that this webinar and all of our other webinars help. I'd like to, we have a few minutes left, so I'd like to invite the other two presenters today to turn your cameras back on. I'm still getting used to being able to see everybody and all of the different functions that we have. Oh yes, now I can see. Hi everyone. So my final question, and it's a big question. We don't have half an hour to answer it, but still, maybe you guys have some thoughts. One of the unifying features of all three of our main presenters today is that they are coming from organizations that are not from the government. They're not themselves a governmental organization. So I'm wondering if you have any final thoughts on if there was a specific way that you actually used this position as a non-governmental organization to your benefit. Was there, for example, a political decision to assign you this role? And if not, how did you decide to take this role? Perhaps this could be information and inspiration to others. So I think I'll start with Alexander.
Yes. So here in Germany, so it was not a political decision that drove us to take on this topic. But yeah, it was really that we as an NGO saw the issues, and that we, I think, as an NGO, have the chance, there are no political restraints. We are like in a position where we can be really critical, where we can point out to these obstacles, to the challenges, and we can voice them. And I think that was like a very, very important for us here in Germany, and it's very important to support the case.
Thanks so much. Let's move on to Leva.
I would say that in our case, as an NGO, you are like more free hands for the ways how you express and advocate for the new idea. But it is until the time that the political decision must be made. So in our case, we started the idea, and what was the inspiration? The inspiration was Bragi himself, who came to Latvia and introduced us to the idea, and we as an organization started that together with the ministry. And then after the advocacy work, the political decision was made. So I would say it was a great success. Even in the situation, if we as an NGO do not operate as a Barnahus, but still we see the way how it will be operated in our country. So I see the benefits in that being an NGO for advocacy work very much.
Fantastic. Thank you. It's we hear over and over the importance of individuals, and Bragi, of course, being one, but all of you and your colleagues individually are making such a huge impact in your country and in Europe. And finally, Tanya, any last thoughts from you on this subject?
I really trust that it's a serious time in the NGO. It's really important to work with the national strategy that we have to have for our Barnahus. And it was decided that it should be done by an independent organization. So yes, it's really difficult, but we have somehow a legal head of our Barnahus.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much. And thank you to everyone who joined us today and through all of the webinars. It's been really a pleasure to see the discussions that we have in this, and the discussions that they inspire outside of the chat. And I wanted to point out that we have an easy link for you to watch all of the webinars. Again, I just put that into the chat. We are releasing this week and next week and in the next few weeks lots of new publications and tools. Check them out on our website. The PowerPoint screen right now has a preview. There's a couple more coming soon. And as a final word from me, I just want to point out that 3 speakers that we've had today is just an example of a tiny bit of the impressive progress that these countries have made in the past 2 years. And that's just 3 of the 10, 11 partner countries that we have in the project, and the 26, I think it is, that we're working with more generally in the network right now. So it's really been a pleasure to have our 2 speakers today to share with you just a snippet of the impressive progress that all of Europe is making currently. Thank you.